Rayman. What's up, Raymond? How you doing?
So,
So today we are going to be talking about our favorite anime of all time, right?
not true.
You're already telling lies. Or like 10 seconds in, you're telling lies to the people.
It's not a lie.
It's only a half truth.
It's a half truth.
All right. Um, but we're going to be doing it by sharing our anime 3 by 3s, our top nines. If you didn't know, 3 by 3 is like an image, gets shared around on social media, usually used to share like your favorite stuff, right? Like shows, characters, that sort of thing. We're doing it with
Very
anime.
easy, friend.
Very
We're
easy,
just
very,
late to it. We're really late to it.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's something that I've seen that like never really goes away. Like, I mean, even recently I've seen it get shared on like Reddit, which is the only place that I go on. Um, People still show them, but yeah, it's a very easy way to share, to like visually share stuff that you like or stuff you don't like. You know what I mean?
The anime hate three
Yeah.
by three.
Anti the anti 3 by 3. Um, but yeah, so we're gonna be doing that. We both made them. I made mine. Ray made his. We have not shown each other, so we don't really know. We can only kind of glean,
Okay,
maybe.
we have caveats for ours as well. We decided no movies.
Yes, yes. Thank you for saying that. No movies because my rationalization was there's so many good movies out there that I think we'd have enough for a 3 by 3 for movies. So instead of trying to put them together, because for me, I don't know how you were, Ray, when doing this, but for me, very tough. I felt bad about the shows I had to cut from my list. You know?
I felt some type of way with mine as well because,
Yeah.
well, I also put my own restriction where I said I'm not doing any manga that I've
Okay.
went
Okay.
into originally for that. So any manga I started after the anime is valid, but anything after that, I'm just kind of, or anything that I kind of deem the manga to be better than, I'm also not like really going into.
Okay. Okay. You got a little extra stuff in there. Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
got my own like little bias there.
Yeah. No, it's good. I mean, because listen, if we enjoy doing this, and the people like it, we could also do a manga 3 by 3. You know what I mean? Then it kind of gets your kind of lane more so than mine.
That would be also putting me on the different field as well because I
Yeah.
read.
Yeah. It'd be something. Um, But yeah, Ray, so I'm going to reveal mine first. Before I do, Ray, do you have any guesses? Knowing me, do you have anything that you think would be on my list? Let's see how good of a friend you are.
It's like only one of them I'm like really sure of.
Go ahead.
It's just Toradora.
Okay. If I had to bet money on one thing, you would say, yeah, it'd probably be Toradora. Yeah.
That would be the only one I
Um,
can say 100% without a doubt, guaranteed slot on the list.
yeah. So for a while, Toradora was my favorite anime of all time. It was for a while actually, for probably at least a few years. So that makes sense that Ray would say that. Did it make the list though? We'll see.
That would be
Um,
the one I'd say.
yeah. Anything
I,
else?
I,
Any other wild guesses you might have?
for you,
Yeah.
mm, mm, it's a toughie, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I can't really. I haven't gotten your recent taste yet. I've been lurking, but haven't been fully committing to your full opinions.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. We haven't
Mhm.
really talked about a
At
lot of
length about
current anime. Yeah. Yeah. No, I get that. Okay. Yeah, that's it then. I'm gonna reveal it. So Ray, you can go ahead and I sent it to you. You can go ahead and look at it. It'll show up on screen. And before Ray says anything, because I do want to get Ray's sort of reaction to it, I am going to sort of I'm gonna read off what each of them are, so Ray and you guys know what all of them are, because it only shows pictures.
okay, one of
Um,
them I was gonna say potentially, but I'm surprised by one choice here. I didn't think you'd have it in you to put it here.
Okay, hold on. Well, okay, let
I'm not
me.
gonna talk about it. I'm not gonna until we get
Yep,
to it. So
I got you. I
let's.
got you.
Okay.
So top row left to right is Haikyuu, Violet Evergarden, and then Your Lie in April. The middle row left to right is what's the full name of this? It's like uh, Love, Chunibyo, and Other Delusions. And then it is uh, the Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. I think that's the
Mhm.
full name. And
Yeah.
then Fruits Basket, the newer version. I never watched the older one. It came out in like 2000 something. And then the bottom row left to right is Horimiya, Freerin, and then Bochi the Rock. So Ray, go ahead. What do you talk about one of them? You had
So
a
I have things to say about two of them. I was gonna say Hori
okay.
Mia was the potential one in
Oof,
my head
so
that I
good.
was going to nominate for the list.
Yeah. You should have went with it. Should have went with your gut.
So I think that was the other one. And then I'm surprised about your Violet Evergarden, considering your past opinions that we've talked about.
Okay, so that's funny. So I will touch on that. A long time. So for people who don't know, which is everybody, um, a while ago. Well, I think when Violet Evergarden was airing, or like right after it aired, I think me and Ray watched it together, and
Mhm.
I didn't love it. I think at the time I said like out of the 12 episodes, there was like 3 episodes that I really liked, and I just didn't understand why. Because like everyone was like 10 out of 10, greatest show ever made, you know. Um, since then, since the few years that that's happened, I've seen people online like talk about the show as like a masterpiece, right? And they eventually whittled me down to watching the show again, like a year or two ago, maybe.
Okay.
And I was wrong. 10 out of 10. I was dead wrong in my opinions. I don't know. I don't know what it was when I was watching it the first time, but that show is incredible. Like the obviously the animation is top tier. But then like the story and the emotions with like the main character and the journey she goes through,
It's a
and
nice slow burn.
yeah, it's a and like how how we piece together the story not only through her with her like doll thing. I forget exactly what it's called, but through the people she meets, and like that kind of gives her perspective. And then obviously some spoilers that I'm not going to spoil. Um, but yeah, it is incredible. I haven't seen the movie yet. I do want to watch that, but yeah, it is very good. I was wrong. Yeah, and then you mentioned Horimiya. Yeah, Horimiya is great. That's a classic slice of life rom com type. Horimiya though, I've always thought kind of stands above all the other shows in its genre because I don't know if you noticed, Ray, but most anime, especially, like the rom com stuff, it usually ends when the couple gets together because the
Right.
excitement and the intrigue is like them kind
Well,
of going back and
Horimiya keeps it
forth.
going, and then you see like the new back and forths that are developed from them being a couple.
Exactly, like Horimiya is somehow able to keep the story good and enthralling past them getting together because most stories can't. Most stories they get together and they're like, "What do we do with these characters now?" And Horimiya nails it.
Horimiya also does like the multiple couples thing, where like in case you like another set of characters, you can also focus on them for a little bit. You
Yep,
get a little
yep,
nice
yep,
little bouncing around in Horimiya.
yep, yep. I think that's something that is true for a lot of shows that you kind of put in high regard. Is that's something I've always said. A show that's not on my list, but it was fairly close. Was Love Is War, and I've always liked Love Is War because of its supporting cast. I think if the supporting cast was weak and it was just Kaguya and the president, I think it would just be like a good show.
Yeah, it wouldn't be like anywhere near the level of excellence it's reached
Yes,
across a
yes.
wide audience.
Um, that one obviously leans a little more comedy, but I think that's not a detriment, because for me, most comedy anime aren't for me. I'm just like, it's fine, but the comedy in that show is very good. Um, yeah, yeah. Any other reactions to any more surprise? Anything that you? agree with, disagree with anything like that?
I don't think I can really disagree with this list. The only two I haven't really consumed in like large quantities would be Fruits Basket. I haven't seen a lot of,
Mm-hmm.
and then I haven't done a lot for Bochi as well.
Um, yeah. Well, so Fruits Basket, like I said, it was actually like a remake. Um, it did have like original anime, like I don't know, mid two
Nine
thousands, I think.
2004 or
Yeah,
five.
yeah, it was something like that. And I'm pretty sure that got pretty good reception. But then they remade it recently. I watched it. It's good, man. It is. It is. It kind of starts off as again more of like a rom com type thing. But then you get real deep into the family. And you realize that like the family that the main character stumbles upon, it's all like they're all based on like zodiac stuff. It's like the tiger and the cat and the rat and stuff like that. Um, the like world building that's just within this family is is really good. Um, yeah, and then Bochi the Rock. That was one that was late for me because I was watching the seasonal anime during that time, and Bochi the Rock was not one of them. And like halfway through the season, Bochi, obviously, if you remember right, Bochi won like every award that year. It was like
Yeah,
best show of the year, and there's a lot of people upset, which I understand. Um, but
well,
yeah,
that's the anime award problem, but that's a different issue entirely.
yeah, that's a whole other thing. I mean, even this most recent anime awards, people were like, this is not right."
It's been going on
Um,
for years now. There's no changing it, so it's just a matter of accepting.
Award shows are a whole other thing though because it's very hard to get them right. Um, there's obviously always going to be people that disagree with the winners because they have their own personal tastes. But I think there is a better way to do it than how Crunchyroll, for example, does it. That's obviously like the big one. Um, but yeah, Bojack Dog was good. Uh, it was an interesting take on like anxiety, which is fun to like play around with something that's real like that. Um, it wasn't just like moe stuff happening, which I think is what a lot of people boiled it down to and why they tried to like undercut the quality of the show. Also, I don't know how much of it you've seen, like any clips or anything, but one thing that makes Bochi stand out is the different animation styles they try out. Like they go crazy with it of like live action stuff, like more like Spider Verse type, like 2D, 3D stuff. They mess with like puppets, like it's crazy, and it works every time.
I've seen the compilation YouTube clip of all the different stuff they do there,
Yeah,
and
dude, it's good.
I think my favorite one is the one with her literally like going 3D model and then just getting eat it out.
Yep, it's good, man. It's good. It's good all over. And then for me, I love a good cast of characters, right? And Boat to the Rock with their band and everything, A plus. Um, yeah, yeah. I will say if you're looking at this list, there's probably like one outlier on here, and that's probably that's Haikyuu definitely. Uh, Everything else kind of has like similar vibe. Well, maybe Freerun too. It's a little different.
Freeman and Violet Evergarden are the only ones here that feel distinct with IQ. I don't know how else to word that.
Sure, sure. I mean, because all the other ones are more like romance, drama.
Bochi's not really, but also like it has a
Then it gets
nice
into that like,
slice vibe,
yeah, the like slice of lifeness. Yeah. Um,
and that doesn't really match with the other ones. I mean, even Bunny Girl, Rascal Games with Bunny Girl has a slice of life vibe sometimes every now and then, but not really.
I think the emotions is mostly like the through line on my list. Very, very heavy emotions in one way or another. I mean, even Haikyuu, it's kind of the other way. Haikyuu is probably the most hype show I've ever seen. More so than any like battle shonen that's out there. Like you've watched it, right? Or you've read the manga, maybe?
Yeah, no, I've consumed IQ.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember us talking about it. Especially the ending to the first season, right? How like how appropriate it is.
You
Um,
you don't really appreciate that first season until like you think about other stuff and you're like, that's so interesting to play with.
Yeah, yeah, that is like in hindsight, that is what was supposed to happen. Um, but yeah, IQ's great. It is kind of puts you on the edge of your seat, and someone who doesn't care about volleyball at all does a very good job of explaining it. And by the end of the season, you are like the coach. You're like seeing everything that people are doing right and wrong, and all the players and stuff like that. So it's fun. It's fun. It's a fun show.
It's a big reason of why I want the Blue Lock movie when that drops to really pop off.
I just saw a post about that today
The
about
season two is
season two.
coming out.
Yeah,
Yeah. And after season two is going to be the movie
yeah.
because
Uh,
it's all lining up for like the big match, which is going to be the movie. So if the movie does really well, I feel like it will have a similar reception to as Haikyuu did it.
IQ's also coming out with a movie.
As it should. It's super good.
Um, but yeah, you said those are the only two that you don't really know anything about was Fruits Basket and Bochi.
I just don't know too deep about them. I don't can't really talk about them too much.
Okay, so just to go over some of the other ones, I don't know if you have anything to say about them, Ray. I'll just kind of go over them briefly. That way, people can see if they want to watch them or not if they haven't. Um, so let's see. Your Lie. Your Lie is great. Um, very very tragic story just in the setup of like both characters have their own baggage that they're dealing with. And they're able
Your
to.
Lie is great, and I feel bad that I've only consumed the manga for that series.
All right, because there's music, so you weren't able to hear
There
the
is
music.
music, so you get to actually hear what they're playing
Yeah, yeah,
in the
yeah,
anime.
yeah, yeah. That is there are pros and cons to anime and manga, um, and definitely like music stuff. Like if you're to do Bochi the Rock, it's the, same kind of deal where it's like you definitely want to hear the music. Um, but yeah, so yeah, that's that. Dreamview and Other Delusions. That's probably like the oldest show on this list that I've watched.
You just realize, man, like you're like a new anime guy. That's the thing, right? Like
Um,
anything post like like anything before like 2000 like 11, I think you start losing your mind.
yeah, well, yeah, that was always kind of the joke between me and Ray was like, because I'm a big like animation guy. Um, Studied animation in college for a little bit, and there was that like weird period in anime, like the 2000s, basically 2000 to like 2007
12
or
maybe.
8. Yeah, maybe a little later.
Because like some shows just kept it up for a bit, so that's why I'm gonna say 12.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, you're right. Um, they were just in this weird like transition phase because even stuff like old stuff in like the 90s is worse quality objectively, but it has a charm to it that kind of it's very similar to a lot of like 2D games nowadays where it's like you have like 3D games that go all in, they have all the resources and they look super hyper realistic and it's like, oh, it's a beautiful game. But then there's some 2D games out there that do it in a way that you still appreciate the visuals, you know, like versus something like I don't know, like Red Dead Redemption 2, right? Like you look at that, that's like real life. You're like, wow, that's amazing. Um, I lost the analogy, but the point is that yeah, yeah, kind of newer stuff. I mean, just like my watching journey, I didn't really start watching anime until like 2013 probably. So I was already in high school by that point.
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
sorry.
aside from like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh, big Yu-Gi-Oh fan. You know, didn't really get into GX. I was like,
It's okay, man.
you know,
GX is hype when Yugi comes back, and you're like, what the heck?
what the heck, man. And right now, what are we on? We're on Brains. Is that the current one?
No, we're past that. I think.
We're past that.
I think. I don't know.
Is Brains
Is it
past
still Brain?
Zexal or is Zexal past Brains?
Brains is past Sexual.
Okay, yeah. No, son. Um, but yeah, yeah. Well, even not even when they were produced necessarily. Even though I still think that's true for my list. Junbyo, I think, is like probably like one of the first like 10 to 15 anime that I saw. So it's still on the list. Pretty good. This is classic Chunibyo story. It's probably like the like quintessential Chunibyo story, like the moving from middle school to high school, and you can't deal with it, so you have like a fantasy thing in your mind, you know. Now we see it in like characters. This is like a whole show about it. The Bunny Girl Senpai show. That one I actually forgot a lot about, and I was like, oh, do I add it to my list or not? Um, but yeah, that one a little bit like romance drama stuff, but it does deal with like growing up, and there were some like sci-fi elements that I forgot to it. It's like, is
Yeah,
this
there's some weird
real?
stuff happening there.
Yeah, like affecting different characters and people forgetting about them, but then like physical stuff happening. It's like, but it does all come together.
I feel
Um,
bad though for Bunny Girl because I equate it to the Monogatari series the same way.
yeah, having only seen season one of Monogatari, I do understand what you're saying there. Yeah, yeah. Where does like there are some like psychological elements to it. Um,
It just
yeah,
replaces like the sci-fi analogy with more like playing with gods and spirits,
yeah. No,
and
that's true. Yeah, kind
it's
of
all
adds that whole new layer on
guys
top of it.
saving girls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true too. I didn't think about that. Yeah. Um, and then Freerin. Freerin is I was trying not to let my like recency bias play into that and try to be as
It's
objective, like
good. I'm
putting it with
sorry,
everything
I
else.
can't fight you.
It's just so well written, you know? Like this one really stands out on my list for me as well because I generally don't like the like fantasy adventure stuff. What I equate this to is To Your Eternity, um, which I did not like. I thought was very
Okay,
boring after the first like 3 episodes. And I know people loved it. People love season two as well.
I feel
Um,
like this.
uh, but there's just something about Freeman, man. It's good. The characters are good. All the different things they do. It doesn't feel like they're. It feels like every spot they're at and like every like side quest is
Mhm.
important, versus other shows that I've seen where they do stuff and I'm like I don't care at all about what's happening to
And
the
I
party.
think what Freeman also does is Freeman's also really good at establishing downtime in these series. Like for fantasy series, it's very hard to establish a downtime or a period where like we're just waiting for something to happen.
Hmm.
It's like we're still traveling and moving along the journey, but like we don't ever really get to see the little bits there. And Freeman's really good at showing that.
Yeah. I think two things with that. I think that they utilize their downtime very well, right? Like that's a lot of where you'll see, them just chilling in an inn, and you know that in like next episode is when they're gonna start. There's a lot of the like witches. What's it called? Mages, like trials and stuff that happens in
Mm-hmm.
this season. You're like, okay, cool. We're kind of waiting for that because that's, each stage is very exciting, right? But we're not really getting that this episode, so on paper you'd want to skip the episode or just kind of like skim through it, but that's where you get growth between different characters and their relationships, or it maybe even sets up a couple things that's going to happen later. And so it is essential and it is exciting, and it's not just like, oh, we're going to have an episode where we go shopping or something. And then the other thing, what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh yeah, I think what also helps out that point that you made was the constant flashbacks with Freerin, with her flashing back to her old party, and
We get to see the Himmel side of everything. We get to see her growth as a person as well as how she viewed everything and how they viewed stuff. We get to see the mind, the gears are turning. We get to see it all happen.
exactly, and that is why that's like one of the reasons I love Freerin as a character, um, because like she's an elf, so she lives way longer than humans, and so there's a time where she's like, oh, we'll just wait in this town for like 10 years, and Fern is like, no, we're not gonna wait here for 10 years. That is way too long, but to her it's like a blink, right? So she is this like very powerful, very long living character. Um, but then through her last party, the like I forget what it was called. It was like the Heroes Party or something, right?
Yeah.
And her new party with Fern and Stark, growth, growth between a lot of moments are mirrored, and how she acts now is definitely mostly due to Himmel, and but then other people in her party too. The other two that I forget their names. Um, yeah, they help out. It's good, man. It's a good show. It's one of those shows that I was fighting myself to like don't put this on the
Mm.
list because it's you know it being this season and it being the popular show, you're just trying to put it on there for that. I just couldn't find any reasons to not put it on. It's just well written. And then that just the last thing I want to say about that is the flashback stuff reminded me of no one will get this but you, Ray. Um, you started reading Loch Lamora a while ago, right? Do you remember their like Scott Lynch's like structure for his writing, where it's
He
like he'll
does
have the
like to give the he feed the little flashback of young Locke.
yes, exactly, yep, yep, yep.
And we get to see
Um,
how Locke goes from basically like making all the wrong decisions to
mm,
fixing himself and making all the smart ones, but still also kind of messing up a bit.
yeah, yeah, and then like the stories that are being told in the flashbacks, as well as the present day, like they always end off with a moment or a realization or something that then directly feeds into us going back into present day. And so that's what happens here as well, where something happens and then Freeman's eyes roll back and and we see the flashback of her, and then it cuts back and it's like, oh, she learned and she's gonna, so very cool way of telling a story. Um, yeah, it's good stuff.
Our
These are
lists
my
are
nine.
dynamically different.
Oh, I'm sure, dude. That was one of the best things. I remember coming up with it. I was like, okay, dude, I want Ray to give reactions to my list and stuff, or like guess as to what my list. And then I was like, I wonder if we'll have even a single common show. And I was like, no way. I just didn't believe it. Um, that it's not to say that you don't or couldn't like any shows on my list or vice versa. We do have overlapping tastes in different stuff. But
Like I try
favorite,
to make. I'm just gonna like let you know. My list is pretty varied. I tried
mine,
to wide scope.
mine on the surface isn't. I feel like every show
But
is
once
different,
you
but
dig into yours, there's like obviously it's like okay, we have a certain vibe going for you, but then they're all kind of different shows though.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said before, I truly do believe the like through line is like very heavy emotions. I mean, even the lightest show on here, I don't even know. I mean, like Bochi's pretty light, but like when
It's
you
got to be
watch the
Haikyuu
show,
lightest, and even
IQ,
then to say Haikyuu
yeah,
is the lightest,
even that. I mean, again, I'm talking all of IQ, and there are quite a few moments in that show where it's like I'm like white knuckling the like armrest on my chair watching it. It's like, oh, stuff is happening. There's the pretty famous moment with Sukamichi. I think I don't know. He's a super tall one who wears glasses.
yes, no,
There's
I know exactly
there's
what
a
you're
moment
talking
with
about.
him where it's
I,
like
I was
goaded moment.
I was thinking about that when you said it.
Yeah,
It was a very
that's the moment where we all became Sukamichi fans. It
it,
was like he's the best character.
it was him. You got the pinch hitter. He's also crazy.
Yeah, he has good girl again. Cast of
Every
characters.
character on the team gets growth, which is
Yeah, every single one.
a very novel way to do it.
Even the like girl coaches, they're like the like assistant coaches.
Mhm.
We do get some stuff from them as well. Um, but yeah, I guess that's my list. I don't really have anything else to say about it. Yeah, if you haven't seen any of these shows, please go watch them because obviously I think they're all incredible. Um, yeah. So
I
Ray,
think that's a well-made list. That's a pretty good list.
heck yeah, dude. Um, so when are we gonna flip it? Now it's my turn to roast
What?
Raymond's. I mean, um,
Roast.
so I actually do have. I obviously thought about this, right? I've been thinking about this for a
Okay,
while.
okay.
This
You
is
you
my
had a
life's
good time to
mission.
brew on this one. What do you
Yeah,
think's on my list?
like a cup of coffee. I think in my head I thought of like three guesses. Um, there is two where I think I'm cheating, and it is sort of the Toradora thing, which we never got back to. Toradora not on my list.
It's not on the list.
Toradora was a pretty heavy contender. I feel like it's probably like top 20, probably.
It's how the mighty have fallen.
Yeah, well, it is still pretty high in the grand scheme of things. My list right on Analyst is like 300 or something. I have like
Okay.
300 entries. Um, so still relatively high. But yeah, Toradora not on my list. Just to close that out. So yeah, two of them I feel like are kind of cheating because I feel like these I know about you unless these don't make your like top nine. Um, but one of my guesses was Monogatari. Um, and another I think cheating guess is Fate of some form or fashion. Just because I feel like I've heard you talk about those, and maybe say that they're some of your favorite shows, possibly. Kind of like how you did with me with Toradora. So that's kind of. But my third guess, I think all I have is one more. Um, this is one where I feel like this is one where I think we either watched it together or we watched it at the same time and talked about it afterwards a while ago, and I feel like I remember you liking it a lot. Devilman Crybaby. don't don't look at me when I'm guessing. Um, but yeah, I feel like those. I don't really know that much about Fate, but I know Monogatari and Devilman kind of have a similar like like psychological type of that genre or that word to me. I feel like is what stands out when I think of your taste in anime,
Mhm.
or at least a part of it. I don't want to pigeonhole, um, but yeah, I guess those are my three guesses.
All right.
So I will look, and Ray's will fade onto the screen. If you want to,
Yo, he's wiping the screen. What a wonderful edit.
that's not where it's going to go, but I did my hand like that. So Ray, if you want to say what all these shows are for the people and me.
Yeah, we'll go left to right, top bottom. It's a very easy list actually. We got top left Fate Zero. That's a mark for Tyler. We
Already
got
winning,
Baka
already winning.
and Test. We have Fairy Tail, Dragon Ball Z, Toradora, Devilman Crybaby, Durarara, Haikyuu, and Konosuba.
Mm, 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 mm. Okay, there are a couple on here which I kicking myself for not guessing. I feel like they're obvious. Two on here that I mean I got. Oh, Monogatari's not here. Okay, I was wrong. But I did get Fate. Um, so I guess okay. I have a lot of thoughts. I don't want to throw them all at you. So
I will
Ray,
say the movie tier list and the manga tier list are gonna blow your mind if you ever get to those.
we listen.
The 3x3 is gonna be killer for that.
We could. I've I will say, just to pull out for a second, um, I have already made my movie 3x3. So whenever you're
Okay,
ready, Ray, whenever
okay.
that's for future though. Yeah, Ray, I think a good place to start, with me get Fate. I did get that right. Do you want to talk about Fate? Is this the series as a whole? How do you feel about it? Why
I
why?
specifically picked Zero because it was my entrance to the Fate franchise. I've heard of Fate in passing before that, but I had no idea what it was, so I should say that.
Hmm.
Um, we I watched Zero, like episode one. Episode one's like an hour and like 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's like a triple episode or
It's
something.
it's like it's a real notorious episode for being
Yeah.
long, and a lot of people who are deep into the Fate franchise or like the Nasuverse um, don't recommend starting with any Fate anime. Obviously, I had no idea because I'm a young boy, a young lad going in. I enjoyed all of Zero entirely, and then from there I went and consumed a large amount of Fate stuff. Going from there, it's also pushed me to play their mobile game, Grand Order, which is the continuous story that is going on and is still being written
Mm-hmm.
for that universe, and they like to have tie-ins. And it's gotten me interested in the other works, Tsukihime and Witch on the Holy Night, which is translated, and you can read that if you want. And then they will be coming out with the official translation for the Fate series as well, which I will be looking into because I've been holding out on that. It'd be good.
What is for the people and kind of for me too? What is Fate about?
Oh boy.
What's kind of the setup for it? Because I know Fate is
The
obviously
general idea of
famous.
Fate is you get a bunch of mages together and they're fighting in what they call a Holy Grail War. It's just a battle royale, and all the mages have servants they summon, which are, um, generally speaking, people from the past, heroic figures, or maybe like cool myths and legends to help out. And they try to battle for the Holy Grail, which is a wish granting item. Whoever
Okay,
wins the war can get their wish granted.
ultimate prize.
Mm-hmm. Very generic setup, and that goes for most Fate franchise. You can have that idea put to any most Fate series can take that mantle and be like, "Yep, that's what it is. They're fighting for this item here."
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, and you're like bought all the way in, all the way into the Fate franchise. You're in.
I'm too deep. I can't tell you. I'm not deep. I'm very deep.
Mm-hmm.
It's a curse and a blessing of its own. Why do I like Zero? Well, Zero drew me in because it was a bit more mature compared to the other ones. But then over time, what I like, oddly enough, I think it's a bit endearing, and I do enjoy how they play around with the certain myths and legends tropes, and I love the magic system involved in the series as well. It's a very interesting system. Um, how there's magecraft and there's true magic, and there's a bunch of other cool different stuff that they go over, like mystic eyes are kind of interesting. Like different mages have eyes that can do different stuff, and then certain spells and all that. And then all the servants have noble phantasms, which are like their ultimate moves, and they cover like what that means. There's reality marbles. The entire idea of a reality marble was put into Jujutsu Kaisen. The
Domain
Ryoki
expansion.
Tenkai domain expansion.
Yep.
That entire idea is just a
So
reality marble
sick. So
from
cool.
Fate.
Okay.
So when you go through it, you're like, this is kind of like an origin for like a bunch of cool stuff. Because like this also kind of feeds into the idea of like gender bending certain heroes or people from history and all that. So when you have like some other shows doing it, Fate has done it forever
Mm-mm.
for certain stuff, just to have fun with it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it is important. I think a lot of times those other shows that kind of stick with us are like the first time we've seen something, and like a lot of times you do watch other shows that pull from that and maybe even do it better, but you still kind of look back at the first and you're like, ah, man, that's some good stuff.
Like for Fate Zero, I think like I really dived in after episode three of Fate Zero, because
Three
episode
episode
three
rule.
is like this cool fight sequence is happening, and then you get to see like the power scale for the characters, and you're like, okay, this is like real. Now you're like
Mm,
because you're like, okay, yeah, when's the action happening? You get to episode three, you're like, okay, the action's here, and it looks like it's gonna be crazy. And for someone who had no idea how the series was gonna go, because I didn't consume original Fate, I didn't realize that Zero was a prequel written after the series was made. In which case, people who already go into the series know that there are certain characters who are definitely going to live because they have an impact on the actual story.
right.
But for someone like me who had no idea and I was going in blind, I was like, wow, I have no idea who's winning this. It felt good.
Yeah, it's definitely a different experience, right? Yeah, it does change it. Um, there's a couple shows that I said that I was kicking myself for not guessing. I just didn't think of them. Was Fairy Tail and Dragon Ball Z. I was like, oh yeah, of course. Ray's talked about both of those a bunch. Um, I feel like Dragon Ball Z probably comes more from like your childhood, which is something that
Yeah,
I
that's
cannot
the
relate
childhood
with.
hit.
Um,
I've played a lot of Dragon Ball Z games. I've watched a lot of Dragon Ball. I've watched all of Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, most of Dragon Ball GT because GT you just caught whenever. But like I caught pretty much most of GT to know it. Played all the Budokai games. I have fighters right now. We're caught up on some of Super, not all of Super, because I'm a busy guy these days. But I'm a Dragon Ball enjoyer.
mm. And after all this time, it does make your list. Is that
It makes the list.
Do you think that's because we just talked about this, right? We're like, I don't really have that. I mean, I guess I could have put like Yu-Gi-Oh on my list, but I wasn't really thinking about that. Um, do you think that is more so like nostalgia driven, or do you think um, Dragon Ball as a whole still does
It's
kind of hold up for you?
it's partially nostalgia driven. I think Z has some strong arcs in it. Dragon Ball is a different series. I can't talk about Dragon Ball here because it would be more for me a manga experience for OG Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
But for Dragon Ball Z, that for me was definitely me sitting down and watching episodes and being like, "This is cool." Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's true for a lot of people, right? We're just like, this is dope.
it's like I feel like Dragon Ball Z really feels nice when you get to. A lot of people say the Cell arc is really like a lot of meat and potatoes for
Mm,
Dragon Ball Z. It's universally beloved arc. People like Frieza and all that, and but the Cell arc is really like good, and it culminates with the Cell games. Spoilers, but no one really cares for Dragon Ball Z spoilers. They're kind of existent. They're non-existent at this point. Goku dies, and then like you have Gohan there fighting for him, and then you get the father-son Kamehameha at the Cell games, where Goku spirits behind Gohan and he wins. You're like, that's cool. That's epic.
mm,
Gohan won because of his dad right beside him. He's dead, but he did it. It was cool.
yeah.
And then before Cell games, you have like future Trunks coming in, and he's like, the world's pretty much dead, and he's like, I'm here to change it. Goku's dying. We need to save him, and they can't save Goku. He still dies anyway. But
Mm,
future Trunks is like, his world's just destroyed. It's wrecked and completely annihilated by the androids. He just wants to save it or salvage it. Dragon Ball
mm.
Z really put the sci-fi into it compared to Dragon Ball, but it hits right though.
Sure, yeah, because that like, yeah, yeah, no, I got you.
Mm-hmm.
I understand. Um, And then, the other one kind of coming off of that, which you imagine was, had some sort of inspiration from Dragon Ball Z, is Fairy Tale, right? Because that's also like a shonen type thing. Um, that's an interesting pick for me, Ray, just from my perspective, because I know you watched it, we talked about it before, but I feel like you've also talked about like stuff you don't like about it. So like, what was
I
your
think
thoughts?
that's like it's the love hate relationship with Fairy Tale, where like I like it so much, I want it to be kind of like better than what it is.
Mm, mm. Yeah,
That's kind of my problem with Fairy Tale.
yeah, because I feel like Fairy Tale is always Fairy Tale never really gets, in my opinion, it never really gets brought up with the other like shonen that are out. Like even less so than like Black Clover or something. I feel like no one ever brings up Fairy Tale as like a serious contender as like in that league of stuff. Like, is that fair, or is it just like what is it about Fairy Tale
I
that?
think it's because like Fairy Tale just has different publishing. It's just not in like standard Jump. So when people talk about that stuff, it's not really going to be mainly included.
Mm,
I think it's Kodansha publishing. I could
okay,
be wrong there. That's just me saying it off the top of my head. It sounds right. Or it's not Shueisha. Maybe. I'm gonna Google this now because this is like real.
sure,
Yeah,
yeah,
Kodansha's Fairy Tale. So good, dude.
okay.
Imagine, oh man, my memory's so insane with that. No normal person would try to remember stuff like that. But yeah, it's
Useless
a different film.
information, but I got it.
Useless information, but it's just like it's just there. Fairy Tale to me was like another one of those like. I think my cousin, she put me onto it. She was like, she told me and Rashawn, she was like, this series, dope. Watch this. And we're like, bet.
And then we
And we
did, and we
were
hated it.
we caught up like 2 weeks before it actually ended.
Oh, perfect.
Wow. And then they waited like how many years to bring that show back?
Yeah, because wasn't there like somewhat recently? Wasn't there like a remake or something of it?
It actually like ended and they have like a 100-year war or 100-year quest,
Yeah, yeah,
which is the continuing series now.
yeah. I remember you telling me about that when it got announced.
Mm-hmm. So when I finished it, then I went on to go read the manga and stay like fully caught up. But this is one where like we latched onto the anime and we watched it. So just me and my brother were just downing episodes. And I have like some favorite moments and characters.
Mm-hmm.
I'm partial to, I'll say characters right now. Jalal and Cobra are like two of my favorites. I also like Urza, so people are gonna be like, this guy likes Jalal and Urza. Heck yeah, I do. Top tier.
Yeah, you're allowed to like who you like.
Yeah. No, Jalal's good. Even though like he has his weird moments in that show. Urza, every time she's on screen, she's usually either winning or like used for fan service. But like winning, she just kills every time. They're like, there's no way Urza could do this, and then Urza just does it.
Um, so you mentioned that. Is that what you think brings the show down? Because I know there is a lot of fan service in that show. Is that it, or is it like is the writing not, you know?
I will say later, past the first, because like I'm only putting like the original anime run here.
Okay.
I think after this is when it starts getting muddy.
Okay. Gotcha.
Mhm. I think the fan service is okay. Like I feel like some of it is unnecessary, but doesn't detract from the story. Not at all. It's just put in there just for fan service. You know, is, is
It's not
that
like
really
Fire
taking away
Force.
from the story? It's not negative, really. It's just there.
Okay. Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's
No,
like
I
it's
got you.
here's fan service. You know, it's like oh well, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, fan service is fine. Fan service doesn't have to necessarily play into the story, but like you said, there are shows that it takes away where it's like distracting, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, stop. Like I
Now
want to
I will
like your
say
show.
later on that does kind of become more of an issue, and there's like some anime filler where they do have fan service and stuff.
Hmm.
But is it really
I'm
a
not mad if
problem in
it's
the whole?
filler though.
Yeah, if it's filler, it doesn't really
Yeah, I'm not mad at that.
like like the anime has great characters. Like Laxus is another good character who gets like super like his arc is pretty good in the anime. He starts off as like someone who you don't really like. You don't think of him as like a good character, and then he warms up to everyone, and he has like his arc where he changes, and then you're like, maybe Laxus isn't so bad.
Mm.
He could be rolling with us, and he feels good. And then the fights are hype. They always got it's the good music. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
And like the openings are all killer. That's not even a joke. Someone has like how many like openings up the full opening list on YouTube. All of them are bangers. Just the original run really felt good to me, and I felt like there was a cleaner way maybe to do an ending, and then also there's some choices for some characters' arcs that don't really feel good. I may or may not be salty about August or some other weird character choices that happen,
Mm.
like Makarov deciding to wanting to give up his life for no reason after multiple characters say, "Why are you doing this? There is no reason for this." And then he does it, and then obviously it doesn't work out anyway, and he's just back. It's just weird. It's weird stuff that happens. But that's not contingent for the series as a whole. It feels good when you're going through it, because when you first start Fairy Tail, it's like you're in the perspective of Lucy, and you're seeing this weird cast of characters for the first time, and they're all like pouring their magic, and you're like, this is crazy. How are they successful? And you're like, oh wait, they're all kind of wicked strong.
Yeah, no, that's fun.
Hmm.
You know, a couple of these I'm gonna group together because I think they're just two interesting picks, and I think that they have a lot of overlap with me. Haikyuu is obviously one where I was dead wrong. We do have a matching show, and the other one is one where we almost had a second matching show in Toradora. Um, so yeah, what were your? I mean, I already kind of talked about Haikyuu, but like Haikyuu and Toradora, what's going on there?
I wanted to put a rom com on the list, and honestly, Toradora was like the only one I would actually legitimately be like, this is old enough for me not to have enjoyed all of it from like a manga, because like I really was manga stuck.
Did you read
If
the
that makes
Toradora
sense.
manga? No, right?
No, that's why.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I was gonna say
So
I don't think
I'm
I
coming
did.
my list, and I'm like, what have I not read manga for that I like, actually enjoy?
Mm.
Toradora was there. It was
I
other
mean,
one may possibly be, what was it? I know the show, but I don't know the show.
there's another
This
like
is,
rom com.
it was gonna be the it was gonna be Nana would be the other pick.
Oh no, no, okay, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I would have put Nana on there,
Still haven't
but I
finished Nana.
haven't watched all of it, so I wasn't confident in me putting it up there.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Same. I wouldn't. There are a few unfinished shows that I feel like could fight for a spot, like Monster. I still haven't finished Monster. I'm like halfway through it. Um, I'm sure by the end of it that'll be like one of my favorite shows, but obviously I wasn't even gonna think about putting it on there without watching all of it.
Yeah,
Um,
but Nana was a real contender for me, and I was like, I can't put it on the list because I just didn't finish it. So
mm,
Toradora got it, and I we talked about it during our Toradora watch, which in my case was kind of my remembering watch
yeah.
because I forgot all of Toradora before then.
Mm,
As in, I've consumed it and I was like, it was good. What do I remember of it? I don't remember anything. And I thought about it and I was like, you have a. It's got the nice thing where it's like it is kind of the start, or not like the start, but like the one that popularized like the hey, let's help each other get together with our girl slash guy we like, and then they become the couple.
yep. Yep.
So it is the popular one from that one. But like also like what's her name? Like
Me to me.
if you're looking at the image, the blue hair one.
Um,
I want to say
is it
Irie, but I think that's wrong. Or it has like an R.
uh Marine? No, that's Dress Up Darling, right? Ami,
Ami,
yes, Ami, yes.
Ami. Ami, I
Yes.
think is my favorite character in that show, and I don't think a lot of people like Ami, but maybe I'm built different.
Yeah, well no, I mean it's probably because she's in a lot of ways
Such a
she's kind of
different
seen as like a
character.
wedge. She's kind of like a wedge in everything that's happening, and then by the end of it, you kind of appreciate what she was trying to do. Um,
Hmm.
she like wasn't trying to wreck things. She wasn't. She was kind of harsh at times, but I think every character needed that. Especially all of them. I guess.
And I think she's the first character to accept who she is actually, because we get to her arc kind of happens in the middle of the show.
Yeah.
We get like the Ami arc, and we see her like lying to herself and everything, and then she like obviously like has her own drama that she starts with the main cast, and that gets resolved pretty quickly, and then she becomes a reoccurring side character who's just there. A lot of people like to say, but you put it right. She's a force really for the characters, and she pushes them along.
I think. I think for me the turning point, because like she isn't my favorite character, but I don't hate her by any means. I do think the turning point for a character for me though was when she was getting stalked by that one dude. and the main character Ryuji helps her kind of get that dude away or whatever. Because she's like a big like celebrity, like a model or something. And
Mhm.
I think once that happens, I think the weight of you kind of mentioned it, her her like struggles finally hit you, and it's like, oh, she's not just some like spoiled celebrity. Like she deals with stuff, and she's dealing with stuff as she's trying to help these new people that are kind of becoming her friends with the drama that they're having as well. Um, you know, in a way, she's like 4D chessing this. Um, and yeah, I don't know. It kind of humanizes her character more than just again, kind of like invading their friend circle.
I guess that's like a good way to put it is that she's having her own adult problems while also like going into like everyone else, and everyone just has like a superficial look at her.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, that was like her introduction to the show, right? Where they were all having lunch at some like fast food place or something, and like the way she was acting was super fake until a couple people went to the bathroom or something, and then she dropped her mask. And I think
Mhm.
that moment is why people start hating her because I was like, oh, she's fake. And then, like again, for me, once once all of her real adult problems are unveiled, it's like, oh no, she doesn't wear like a mask to trick people, just to like get one over on them. She's doing it to protect herself. Um, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I get why you like that character because the character does have depth, which is nice.
And then, well, I guess we'll go to Haikyuu.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did it. You thought I wouldn't.
I didn't think about Haikyuu. I know when because I watched it more recently than you did. I consumed it a lot later. We're talking about it and stuff, and oh yeah, we both liked the show, the manga, whatever. Didn't think it was gonna be one of your favorites though.
It is. I think I've said it before. Maybe the listeners are. I don't know who's older than you. Haikyuu is legit like the first sports thing I've actually like dived into fully. Not like adjacent. Like they get like a coconut basket. You got whatever the diamond one is called. I forget that one.
Baseball?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Prince of Tennis. Like the classics.
You're yeah, nice.
Yeah, I was gonna say Uranus is one. Free
Megalobox.
Megalobox is up there. A lot of different sports. This Haikyuu's like the first one I really dived into, and again, that was the anime for me. And then after I watched the anime, I was like, "There's a manga for this," and then I dived into it again. Um, but Haikyuu hits like a lot of highs and lows. We're not going to spoil anything for it. My favorite character is Oikawa, who is the at least for this
Oh yeah,
series, is one of the major protagonists for the first couple seasons.
yeah.
He's a very interesting character. Um, I quite enjoy the dimension he brings not only to the well, no, it's not that's not the way to word it. He has a good relationship to Tobio that really pulls out um, the rest of the group.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Like he's not like a villain, but he is the antagonist of the show, and he's a very good antagonist for those first couple seasons.
And he's just good. I mean, like, you know it, and I know it. Like when you first see him serve, and then everyone just like
Yeah,
the show just stops for a moment just to let you enjoy how killer he is.
yeah, yeah. Like no one moves because it just happens so fast, and they're just like, "Oh my god, we're gonna
The
lose."
show gives everyone time. It gives you time to process as well as it lets you see the characters processing what
Yep,
just happened.
yep. Like I didn't know that was
And
possible.
I think it's a wonderful introduction. That's another thing like Haikyuu does. It's like the weird focus on the hands, which is it's not weird, but it's like it's the cutting of how they do it though. It's the editing of how they decide to portray it and animate it. He does the ball spin. If you focus on the hands for a moment, you see the scene of him running up, and you're like, okay, this is like but it's the quick cuts and they do it like in a clean way. You feel the impact much more. You know exactly what I'm saying.
Dude, I do 100%. I lived it.
Watch Haikyuu. You
Yeah,
can have a
watch
lot of different
IQ.
favorite characters. For me, Oikawa, even after consuming the rest of it, is just a wonderful character. Even if he doesn't, spoiler, make it to the with the rest of the groups, you still enjoy what his character brought, what he still brings, because he's still looked at in later parts of the show and series as a important or pivotal character.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I will say, my favorite characters, real quick, probably Nishinoya. He's great. He's the I don't remember what his title is called, but like he's the one that does all the saves.
Okay.
He he's the one with like the blonde spike. And he's like really good at like saving. I forget what their name is called. What like that position is called. Um, Whatever. He's cool.
No, I know what you're saying. Yeah, his special was literally like just becoming ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah,
He was like, I
uh,
must crumple to the floor now. This is what I
yeah,
do.
yeah. Like him like rolling to get stuff, and then like I mean, there was a moment and like he came up with like a really dumb name for it, and everyone laughed at him. But then he did it in a match against like one of the best. Uh, what's the move called? Servers. And he did it, and then like again, it's kind of similar thing where it was silence and no one moved on like either side of the court because they were like, did he just dig that up? Like
I think it
it's
was some weird
impossible.
save with his leg, is what he did.
Yeah, it was something.
It was some weird save with his leg, I think, for that one. And everyone was like, how did you do that?
Yeah, like you should not be able to dig those up. Like that is impossible. Um, but yeah. Another one I got right. Devilman.
Yeah. I think it's probably the darkest show I have on the list here. No other show really just wants to go at the basis of humanity in a weird way. I'll equate it. It's Devil May Cry Baby is the modern, for lack of better comparisons, Berserk? Question mark.
Okay.
But I guess it's the same like thing of like black and white, good and evil. We have the idea that like the main character, even though he is the Devil Man, is ultimately a good character, shrouded and draped in darkness. And no matter what, he's the only one who kind of remains to his fullest extent the most human.
This show, it reminds me of, because you have recommended me a bunch of manga in the past, and some of them have very common, like atmospheres. Um, some of them are all written by the same person, but like things like Fire Punch or Pluto, or I mean, even like Chainsaw Man. Even though I feel like Chainsaw Man's a little more like, uh,
Lax,
yeah. I mean, it's definitely more written for like
fun.
uh, general audience can kind of consume it. Where like Fire Punch, I think is going to be harder to sell if they were ever to do an anime of it. Um, but yeah, like those things, like that, and then Devilman, I feel like all have like a very similar energy of like you're not, you're probably not gonna have traditionally a good time watching this show or reading the manga, you know, like you would like I don't know, like freaking Jujutsu Kaisen or something, right? Very very different presentation, but you are gonna read this or watch it, and it's gonna put you in like a certain headspace, and you're gonna appreciate it because it is very good writing. Um, I don't think it's like the most accessible show or manga. Uh, yeah,
That's a good way to put it. Like literally, if I were to say anything here is accessible, it would have to be out of all these Dragon Ball, Haikyuu, or Durara, like the most accessible shows I have here.
yeah. For like really even people that never watch anime before,
Yeah,
those are
those are
probably
like
the
that's
ones.
it.
Yeah,
That's Everything else here, I would not say is accessible in the slightest.
Okay, well, so shift to that then, because I've only seen the first episode of Do Ra Ra Ra. Like, what is that about? Why did it make your list?
To not go into the spoiler territories, because I think the Rah Rah really kind of hinges on a lot of stuff not kind of being said about it and being enjoyed by the masses as you find out what's crazy stuff is happening.
Mm,
Rara is a nice little mash of, you have a huge cast of characters, but you get to see how they all interact with different people and different places and everything. You know, it all kind of meshes and together into one cohesive, weird butterfly effect.
okay, okay,
Everyone knows everyone or interacts with mostly everyone.
sure, because
And these interactions all fuel one cohesive story.
it's like set in like a big city, right? So it's like
Yeah.
a lot of people. Yeah, yeah.
But the conflict in Durara really is the I don't remember what it is. Is it the Colors Gang? Or no, it's the
No
Dollars. The Dollars. Yeah, the
dollars.
Dollars because they don't have a color.
Mm,
It's kind of weird. So they didn't pick a color and there's the Dollars. But anyone could be a dollar, and they're kind of like the big gang that's in the story's base for Durarara. So we get to see how the dollars really, because this is just this internet gang, how this big gang is the center of everything that's happening in the city.
okay,
It's, there's a lot of things to love about um, this show, and honestly, it is a very character-driven series. If you like one character, and you will be attached to that person, and when they come up multiple times, you will be so happy. And it's the same way. If you don't like a character, I'm sorry, they're probably going to come back multiple times, and you're going
well,
to
too
hate
bad.
them every time they're on screen.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I love shows like that. I mean, we just obviously went through my three by three, but yeah, shows that really focus on the characters and have them give them enough space and time to get to know them. Uh, I think are usually the shows that stand out.
Drama really is like a gem of a show. 3 seasons, and it's weird fantasy, yet also tied to reality story. Is a lot of intrigue, yet very real storytelling.
Mm,
But also, when it becomes ridiculous, you're like, let's just get crazy too, because it gets crazy. I
yeah,
highly recommend.
yeah. And then your last two shows, right? I feel like kind of tie together in some ways. Very like comedy heavy. You got Bakken Test and you got Konosuba. Um, Now is that what exactly are you including there? Is that like a specific season of each of those? Is that like the entire show
I
for
think
both
I
of
have to
them?
go back for both of the for Bakken test. I think it is the entire anime,
Okay,
but for Konosuba, I think it may just be season one. But I
season one.
think it's because season one really like hits the head on like a lot of stuff, and it's thoroughly enjoyable throughout. I'm not saying season two or the season three are lacking. I'm just saying like I enjoy season one as a whole because it's the introduction to these characters in Konosuba, and you understanding that and seeing how they flesh out over the series, and you're like, yeah, and then you eventually like you understand like you are then part of the show for Konosuba as well. You're watching it and you're like, oh, you already know something's about to happen when you see some character do something. You're you're already leading to certain stuff, and then in Konosuba they like to play around with it as well. We're like, you didn't realize how bad it was going to get when they did this thing.
Mhm.
You knew it was going to happen, but now you'll see how crazy it's going to be. I think that's the difference with that.
Um, in a similar way, I haven't seen Fate, but in a similar way that you were describing Fate of like there's a lot of things that happened in Fate that they sort of like pioneered, or at least like made popular. Maybe they weren't the first ones to do it, but they made it popular, did it in a good way. I always thought that about Konosuba too, where it's like, I don't know what the first isekai was. I couldn't tell you. But I feel like Konosuba was the first one to really popularize that specific formula. Not only isekai, but also where all the characters are kind of garbage, you
Kind of
know?
garbage. They're all tropey in their own way,
Yeah.
and it's also very meta. So like,
Yes. Very meta, yeah.
especially with Cosmo being like a nerd, so he played like all the video games for it. So it plays a bit into its own self. It's enjoyable.
And
It is my isekai on the list.
yeah, but I do. I mean, I don't know how high Konosuba would be on my list, but I think Konosuba is probably my favorite comedy type anime. Most like I feel like they just do comedy right, and like even there are a lot of moments of fan service in that show. I feel like this is one of the best when it comes to that because all of it makes sense and it like it does adhere to the characters that it's happening with or around or whatever. Um, yeah, yeah, I feel like they kind of perfected all those aspects of their show.
So it very much is weird because Baka and Test to me feels very much like I could watch it again and again, and I feel like that may be because I've already seen the show so many times.
Hmm.
I've watched it subbed and dubbed. Rashawn loves the show so much. I've seen it way too much. I know some episodes pretty much beat for beat, maybe not like line for line, but I know like every episode in and out.
That was like here's a joke for only me and Ray. Do you remember Ben could like he, he could tell you exactly what was happening at any timestamp in the movie Frozen? Do you remember that? Where like so for people out there, Ben, someone that we knew, um, and he watched the Disney movie Frozen so many times, and he thoroughly enjoyed it. That like you could be like, all right, 47 minutes, 47 minutes and 12 seconds. What is happening in the movie? And he'd be like, oh yeah, this, and this, and he would get it right. Like that to me is like psycho behavior. So that's what I imagine happens with you, Baka and Test, where it's like,
I'm
dude,
not
I got you.
that deep into it. Like I can tell you as an idea how the show could go, like
Hmm.
story wise. But like it's weird for me to even like rank it. I don't even think it's that popular Mal. I think Mal has it like at a 6 or like a 7. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't think it's that high on like a score.
But like to give like an idea of like Bach and Test, I think Bach and Test, if you watch it now, you get a different appreciation for the series after watching like all the anime or like school shows that you've already seen. It's a different feeling or vibe. It's very tropey, but it knows it's tropey. It's got like that weird meta value.
Hmm.
Like the entire premise is that all the characters are in a school, and the characters that we follow are in class F. Those classes, as you can probably guess, are ranked lowest to highest, so they're in the worst class possible. And we have the goal of Class F wanting to be the best class out of all the classes in the school.
Yeah, yeah. And don't they have like they like battle each other or something?
They battle each other through their grades.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but Class F is so weirdly dynamic that everyone is in Class F is a genius in one specific thing possible, except the main character.
He's like good at nothing, right?
He's garbage. He's an idiot.
Yeah. He's an idiot.
But like the characters are just so good, and then like there's obviously like the pink haired girl is like the only character who's actually smart, and the reason why she's in Class F is because she like fainted during the exam for like determining what class you're in,
Hmm.
so she couldn't finish, so it was an automatic failure. But every other character there is basically muscle brained in everything except one thing. It's a glorious show.
Mm.
It's got like it's got the weird fan service put into, but then there's like the one character who like pushes the fan service. He's like He's like always like taking creeper shots or whatever. But like the
Uh,
thing is, he it's meta though because he's the only one doing this, and then he gets beat up for it. No one else is like going crazy like this, and then like he's the only one who's like getting A's and like P. Everyone else is bad, and then you got obviously like, there's like the math genius and everything. But like then they have like the weird episodes, and they have like all the other characters, like the class president for them. He's like the boyfriend of like whoever's like in charge of class A, but then she's like crazy. She's like we can like take him to the amusement park and then like have him tied up, and she has a taser to him, and then she's like, you will do this with me. She's like pure yandere, and he's like has no choice but to accept. But it's the weird like it's like Kenosuba. It's character interactions once you understand it and how they play around with that.
yeah, yeah. I think I've seen the first like couple episodes, maybe like literally the first two episodes, maybe, and yeah, yeah. It is. Characters go very over the top. It is a very like. It definitely feels more like cartoon. You know.
It is definitely like the most anime show I think on this list.
Yeah.
But for me to say that, like, if you understand anime at all and you watch it, you get a different appreciation for the show because it plays with the tropes a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there is that. Especially when it comes to people who don't watch anime, there is like a scale, right? Of like on one end, there's shows that you could show someone and be like, yeah, yeah, you want, like IQ or something, right? So, just a sports show. They play volleyball, whatever. Like, it's hype, you know. But then you have other shows like Baka and Test where you couldn't show someone that as their first show because they wouldn't understand it. Because there's like like after you watch a certain number of anime, there's just things that happen in anime that you just kind of gloss over. It's like, oh yeah, that's just something that happens.
Baka and Test and like Konosuba kind of fall into that. Like random fan service aside, like hits
Yeah,
you in the face. The person who watches the anime a lot is gonna be like, okay, that's just fan service. First
yeah,
time watching it, that may like turn you away from all anime in general.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's like the classic thing, right? Of like
Yeah,
why people don't like anime. Like, oh, this is all it is. It's like, well, no, 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 no. There's anime is a medium. It is not a genre.
there's just a lot of different stuff in anime. And it turns out a lot of those are popular.
Yeah, you got Attack on Titan, right? Just ended. That was good.
That was good.
Yeah. Um, So yeah, right. We
That's it.
did have very different lists, except for I mean we had one like overlapping. But yeah, I do know when you said earlier like I think yours definitely has a lot more variation than mine does. Um, I think partly that's probably due to you having your extra restrictions you put on yourself. But maybe that just goes to show how simple I am. You know what I mean? You just have
I think it's a combination of stuff. I
yeah
think you're right. It's like you like a very specific thing,
yeah
which is okay. But like when you watch anime, you appreciate that more.
yeah
Me, I have two restrictions on myself. I wanted to make my list kind of varied and like jack of all trades, and I also wanted to be like, okay, what shows are not manga? Because
hmm
I feel like manga, I would feel selfish, and I feel like you could easily guess my manga list.
maybe I don't know. Um,
Maybe not all nine, but I feel like you can get at least four, guaranteed, off the top of your head. It's not hard.
yeah, no, I mean I get why you did it though, because for me, that was probably the only struggle I had when it came to that would be Horimiya because I read the entirety of Horimiya before I watched the show. And so I was like, am I remembering the manga or am I basing my pick on the show? And luckily the show came out recently. Like, I mean, I read the manga back when you recommended it to me, like 5 years ago or whatever. I don't know. It was a while ago.
I never
And
thought it was gonna be animated. I'm not gonna lie. It's same with like Tomo when they came out with the Tomo
yeah,
channel.
yeah, yeah, Tomo, yeah. I still haven't seen that, but I do want to. But yeah, but then I just kind of tried to like separate it in my brain and be like, luckily Horimiya, the show came out recently, and then they came out with the missing pieces, which was them kind of filling in some gaps, which I thought was good. And I kind of separated. I was like, no, the show is still Still top tier. But you obviously have a lot more struggles with that because we're like two sides of the same coin. Um, so that's why I think when we do eventually do the manga one, it's going to be very interesting. Um, but yeah, I thought that was good. I think everyone should go watch all the shows. That's 18 shows. You know how much time that is? And some of these are multiple seasons too. So you have a
I
good
got like
like
17 shows really. There's only
yeah
one show.
you have like next couple weeks, a couple weeks of anime right there for you.
Uh,
Um,
my personal picks for you, if anyone wanted to start off, I'll say guaranteed. Just go Haikyuu.
Thank you. Yeah. Um, yeah, that's good. If I had to pick one and not pick IQ, yeah, I'd probably go Horimiya. I feel like that's like cream of the crop, like slice of life type stuff.
If
Um,
I were to not pick Haikyuu, I'd probably just say like watch Durarara. That's the most generally appealing one.
mm, yeah, yeah. I feel like definitely my list. It's like start Horimiya. Don't start with Violet Evergarden because it will probably destroy you. Maybe start with something a little lighter like Horimiya first.
Maybe if you like that stuff, don't go for Violet Evergarden. I, I
Yeah.
rate Violet Evergarden highly. I just didn't. For me, it was a weird thing seeing it on your list. But when you said the rewatch, it made much more sense.
Oh, dude, it's good, man. It's good. Like the
I rated
rewatch.
it highly, but I think I put it as like an 8 or a 9.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I gave it like a 10. It was after the
Mhm.
rewatch. It was good. Um, but yeah, those are our shows. I think there's a good chance we'll do other 3x3s because I thought this was fun. Obviously, the manga one we talked about. We have that movie one.
The movie one is gonna be crazy. You're not gonna guess my movie list.
You're not gonna guess my movie list either. I guarantee. I guarantee you won't guess a single one.
I'm only gonna put one on there that I feel like could be it, and that's only gonna say Spirited Away.
Maybe, maybe not.
It could also not be there.
Who
Maybe you're
could
built
say?
different.
Maybe I actually hate Ghibli. Kind of grew out of it. You know what I mean?
Ghibli growth.
GG. And on that note, Ray, that is it. We're gonna make more videos and stuff. Next video might be a 3x3, maybe it won't. Um, yeah, we'll talk about more anime. Thank you, Ray, for joining me. Uh, hopefully you can return next week. Might find a new guest. I don't know. Um,
Getting Sean here to show his 3x3.
don't do that. This is probably cursed.
No, it's gonna probably be Wabaka and Test is gonna be on there. Other anime he's enjoyed, Attack on Titan. I feel like it's gonna be on there. Maybe Hunter x Hunter. Anything else I can guess off the top of my head? I can't really think. So I think that's what he has on his list for those three. I think that's three. I can't guess the other six off the top of my head. He's very picky sometimes.
We'll figure it out. I don't know. Um, but yeah, that is it. Um, that's it. Have a good day, everybody.